Hi, this is Steve with Neve Family Lights. In this video, I'm going to show how to set up a BeagleBone Black so that it will boot directly from an SD card with Falcon Pi Player. This is a brand new BeagleBone Black, and getting this device to boot from the SD card isn't straightforward. For my use, I'm getting ready to set up this BeagleBone Black with a octoscroller to work with P10 panels or P5 panels, but in your case, you may be purchasing a brand new BeagleBone Black or BeagleBone Green for use in a cult controller or any other controller that uses one of these BeagleBone single board computers. If you find this video useful, hit the like and subscribe and notification bell so you don't miss any of my future content. Now let's get to it. Here we have all the necessary parts to get started. Here's our brand new BeagleBone Black. Open this up. Inside it comes with a USB to mini USB. This is the power. I'm going to use this to power up the BeagleBone. You have the unit itself, and you'll need something to connect to power. So this BeagleBone has two ways to power it. You can either get a 5-volt barrel connector, or you can power it from the mini USB here. So I'm going to use this cable, connect power to it with a USB charger, 5 volts output, and this is optional. You don't really need this, but this is a micro HDMI to HDMI adapter. This BeagleBone has a connection here, so we can connect this and see what it looks like on the video. We'll boot it up so you can see the default operating system that it uses. And if you put an SD card in and you want to boot from the SD card, by default it will just boot right into that eMMC pre-built BeagleBone operating system. But each time you power on this unit, you'd have to push that button. And what we want to do is set it up so that way you can just boot off the SD card each time it gets powered on. All right, now let's download the latest release of Falcon Pi Player. I'm at github.com, Falcon Christmas, FPP releases. And the latest as of today is version 8.5. I believe there's a update to that, to 8.5.1. So let's go down to the assets down here. And I'm going to be downloading the version for the BeagleBone Black image. I'm going to download the 8.5.1 BeagleBone Black. And we'll give that a minute to download. The image is now downloaded, and I've got the SD card mounted to my computer. So let's go to where the image was saved. I'm on a Mac, and on a Mac, a zip file is automatically uncompressed. And so here is the image file ready to be flashed to the SD card. If you're on a PC, you're going to have to unzip that package and then place it in a place where you can then flash it. Also, since I'm on a Mac, I'm going to use a few steps here that is specific to the Mac. You can use any tool, whether it's the Mac or on a PC, to flash the image to your SD card. First, I'm going to find the SD card so I can address it. And I see here it's a 32 gig SD card. It's identified as /dev/disk4. So first we'll unmount it. And now we can send the command to flash it. Okay, the input file is FPP version 8.5.1. And we're going to be sending it to dev rdisk4. rdisk4 goes a little faster than just disk4. And we will let the command go. This process will take a few minutes, so we'll skip ahead. And we're back. It looks like it completed. It took 762 seconds for flashing the 3.7 gigabyte file. It's a little bit over 12 and a half minutes. When it finishes on the Mac, at least it shows that the disk attached is not readable, so I'm just going to click eject, and then it's ready to go into the BeagleBone Black. So let's do that next. So I'm going to cut the power. We'll insert the SD card. Just to show you what happens, if I plug this back in and boot it up, we'll see if it'll boot off the SD card. And for sure, it's booting right into the BeagleBone.org built-in operating system on the eMMC. So what we'll do now is boot it, and I'm going to press the button to force it to boot from the SD card. Unplug. I'm going to plug in a network cable. Falcon Pi Player does boot directly into a web-based interface, so I should be able to find it on the network and then interact with it through the browser. Okay, so I'm going to press and hold this little button here to force it to boot off the SD card. And I'll plug it in. Okay, it's booting up. As you can see, it's not booting into the BeagleBone operating system, so let's take a look on the browser and find our Falcon Pi Player instance. Okay, we're back on the computer, and the BeagleBone Black came up with an IP address. You'll have to find what that is on your network. In my case, it's on this IP address, 126. And there's FPP. You can see in the upper left-hand corner here, it's version 8.5.1, so it booted properly. Just go ahead and just set some defaults here. I got an enable password. We'll just disabled, set OS, Falcon default. Just let it be FPP. Finish setup. Okay, that's all set, and we can go ahead and reboot. Whoops, that was a mistake. If you did what I just did and rebooted your BeagleBone Black, it's going to go back to booting to the default eMMC operating system. So I had to go unplug it, push the button, boot it back up again, and now we're back into FPP. So before you're doing that boot, this is what you want to do. We're going to go back into the terminal. Okay, here we're in the terminal, and we're going to SSH into the Falcon Pi Player. Use FPP as the username, and put in your IP address. And by default, the Falcon Pi Player's password is Falcon. Okay, now that we're logged in, if you want to see the list of the blocked devices, which includes the SD cards, you can use this command, lsblk. And the 3.6 gigabyte MMC BLK1 is the internal eMMC storage, and you can see the SD card is down here as MMC BLK0. So what we're going to do now is run a command which will wipe the eMMC, which is the BLK1 storage device. Input file is going to be zeros, and then the output is going to be the MMC BLK1. And this is going to take a few minutes, so we'll come right back once it's done.
A few moments later.
It took a little while to clear the eMMC onboard storage, a little over 11 minutes. And now that that's done, and there's nothing to boot to, the BeagleBone device will automatically now boot to the SD card. I'm going to go ahead and power cycle the device now, and see that it comes right back up. Come down here, hit reboot, tell it to go, and we'll give it a minute to restart. As you can see, I just hit refresh on the browser, and we are back to FPP. Now that the device is set to boot FPP directly from the SD card, I'm ready to put on my cape. Or if you're setting this up for another controller, you can do that and get your controller all configured. That's it for this video on how to set up your BeagleBone device to boot directly from an SD card with Falcon Pi Player. Hope you found this useful. Until next time, we'll see ya.